Where's Sal, mein friend, and welcome to yet another video. My dear friends, finally, I've managed to watch the medieval, my dear friends, in Czech, Jan Žižka. And finally I can make the review. Now, this has been a requested video of mine for a long time. Many of you have written to me in the comments and in the email that I should watch and review this particular film, especially because I come from the Czech Republic. I am half Czech, half Polish. And this movie is, after all, about Jan Žižka of Trocnov, very much famous historical personality of Bohemia, the medieval Czech Republic. And, I was afraid, I have to say, for a little bit, that they would make it, appropriate for the modern audience, as they like to call it today, of course. The modern entertainment industry, they don't really care about staying true and faithful to history or when they are adapting a book to the source material, but they prefer to bow down to the gods of inclusion, representation, and diversity. And I have to say, with joy in my heart, that this is not the case. Now, there was something a little bit that I was kind of icky about, but I shall mention it at the end of the video. But this movie was made by Czech people, actually. It was directed by Petr Jakl, but most of the actors were actually English-speaking people from either Britain or the United States of America. But I have to say that I'm happy, because the way I see the current state of the Czech cinematography, it's not good, really. The last Czech film that I consider to be very good was made over 23 years ago, and that's a long time ago. So I am glad that they incorporated foreign actors and foreign filmmakers, and this is really a multinational film. And it is also the most expensive film in the history of the Czech Republic. The budget was, if I remember correctly, 500 million Czech crowns, which still is a lot of money. Now, this film is of course based on a true historical personality, as I said at the beginning of the video, Jan Žižka of Trocnov, and they made a very clever thing. They focused on the early 15th century, which is a period about which there are not many written documents about Jan Žižka. So I think that the movie is set in 1402. But for those of you who don't know who that historical character, that historical personality was, I shall briefly, just very simply and simplistically summarize it for you. He was born in 1360 in Trocnov, which was in Bohemia, and he died in 1424 in Přibyslav, which is also in Bohemia. And he was, of course, a mercenary. He was a war leader, he was a warlord, he was a brigand at some point of his life. At the end of his life, or the latter part of his life, was a Hussite leader who won great victories during the civil wars in Bohemia, for example, at the Battle of Sudoměř, at the Battle of Vítkov Hill, or at the Battle of Kutná Hora. So I don't know if that says anything to my English-speaking or non-Czech viewers, but trust me, he is quite a significant historical figure there. What is interesting about the adaptation is that there are certain hints to true historical events in that. For example, the fact that he indeed, of course, obviously, lost his eye, but in reality, he lost his eye in very early childhood, when he was about 10 or 12 years old. And by the end of his life, he lost his other eye in a battle. So by the end of his life, the real historical personality was completely blind, and still he was able to lead armies to battles and win many victories. Now, this is very much admirable. What is also the connection between history and the film is that he really was in struggle. He declared animosity towards Henry of Rosenberg when he was a brigand, And that was actually in the film itself. Not only was he a great war leader, but he was also an excellent strategist and war commander, and also an inventor, because he invented that kind of fight technique during which he used wagons as like battlements, and then his warriors hid behind it so they can defeat much bigger armies, and that was also very nicely incorporated into the film. Now, other than that, it was quite, I would say that they just made up a lot of it. Of course, as I said, there are not many written mentions of the historical personality's life, from circa 1360 to about 1410. So this movie really covers the period when it's really blurry, shrouded in mystery. But as far as the making of the movie itself goes, now, I don't know what you think, my friends who are not Czechs, but if I compare this movie and how it was made to other Czech films, this was an excellent film. Now, this kind of production is something I have never expected from a Czech film. Now, compared to your usual Hollywood historical battle films, I think that it stands up pretty well. What do you think? Who you saw the film or who have seen it? You know what? Once again, I think that from now on I will be comparing every single fantasy and historical medieval film to The Rings of Power, because if you compare it to The Rings of Power, the costumes looked very good. They were historically accurate. It was all recorded in the Czech Republic, so you can see my difference. Where I come from, the nature of Bohemia of the Czech Republic is very beautiful. Now, of course, we've got awful cities, but you can find beautiful nature like that. You know, forests and streams and ponds and rivers, mountains, things like that. Very, very much beautiful. The heart of Europe. We call our country the heart of Europe. So it was shot in the Czech Republic. So the sets were beautiful. The costumes were great. I have to say that Ben Foster portrayed Jan Žižka very well, like masterfully. They really managed to make him into really an action hero, but at the same time a sympathetic hero. You can really sympathize with the character. He's likable. He is a masculine hero. Yes, indeed, 100% a masculine protagonist. There is no female kick-ass woman. We don't need no men. F patriarchy in that film. It was so refreshing. It was so heartwarming to see that. Men were men, women were women in that film. And that's how it's supposed to be, because that's how it has always been. And I am just so glad, eternally grateful for my dear, good old based Czechs that they managed to make a movie that actually reflects the history, the way it revolved. Now, there were some actors in that film who didn't really look like they came from Europe, but all right, they were just they were extras. Right, so all right, I can survive this, like really. But what I also appreciated in this, there was this war/warrior religious group in the Czech Republic, like a huge movement. They were called the Hussites. They were following the teachings of John Huss, and they had this anthem. They had this song that they sang both in church, but when they went to battle, and they were very famous for it. Every time they went to battle, they just sang this song with, very strong warrior-like voices, and their enemies were afraid of them. And that song is called Kdo sú Boží bojovníci. Vaguely translated into English, who are the God's warriors, right? So they actually sang the song in that film multiple times, and they even sang it in Czech language, which is, once again, something that made me feel very warm. Now, there have been people who told me that they weren't really satisfied with the fact that the characters were portrayed by non-Czech actors, but once again, no, I am happy because all good, excellent, or most of them, not all, but most of the excellent Czech actors have died, and the current ones are shite. I mean, no, thank you very much. So I'm glad that they have cast Ben Foster, Michael Caine. Michael Caine in a role of actually like a fictitious character. There has never been a mention of this man, but he portrayed him very well, brilliantly. There was this German guy. He portrayed Henry of Rosenberg. I'm blanking on the name of the actor, but he's German, and and he was in Inglourious Bastards, and he played Hugo Stieglitz, and he was awesome as well. Of the Czech actors, I love Karel Roden. It was the king. It was the character of the king, and he is very well known for playing, for being in Hollywood movies as well. You might know him as Rasputin from the first Hellboy movie. So that was him. That was Rasputin. So the symbolism was also very nice and very beautiful. The lion, for example, in the dungeon. We've got a lion for like a symbol in our country. So I think, there was a little bit of a symbolism there. And the action scenes were brutal. It was actually quite brutal. I think that it's like, 15 or 18 years up. 15. I would rank it like PG. Is PG 15 plus? Yeah, because, there were no, expressive honky-tonky scenes. There were no sex scenes at all, which is very, very, very much refreshing am I blanking on a... Well, yeah, there were a couple of violent ones when warriors were pillaging a village, but it was like just, like for a second or two. And there was a kiss, like a romantic kiss. So that was, when I compare it to modern Hollywood historical films, medieval films, and fantasy films, there's like nothing. So once again, I have to appreciate everything that I have said, everything about the film, its historical accuracy, not about the events that were in the film, but the surroundings and the way people behaved and the sets and so on and so forth. I admire their decision, their choice to really focus on 1402, where we don't really know what he did in detail. So yeah, that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. I do declare that the medieval and the Northman are my two favorite films of 2022. I'm good. I'm satisfied. And one of them is Czech film, so yep, I couldn't be more excited. And I think I might even rewatch the film very soon. So once again, let me know in the comments down below what you think, and that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and na Marie.